Hey there folks, welcome back. It's been a while. I'm gonna spare you details and not make up any excuses. I'm just gonna get started on what I want to do here. It's getting really close to ice fishing season. With that comes tournament season. And I plan to film the whole season again as I have the last 2 seasons. If you're familiar with my tournament videos, you're probably familiar with this wheeler. Yeah, there he is. Last year we put that box on it. So that is my wheeler that I've been using. Now, this year I want to make another upgrade to it, and this one's going to be pretty exciting. I thought I'd try to make it into a little bit of a video series, see how that turns out. You know how I am with these things, but we're going to give it a shot. So today, right now, what I'm going to show you is what we have to work with, and then I'll give you a little short rundown on what I plan to build and some other cool stuff that I can hopefully incorporate into this whole build and series.
Here we have it. My orange four-wheeler, old trusty. I don't really have a name for it. A lot of swear words. I call it a lot of swear words when it doesn't start when it's cold, but we deal with it. What we have is a 2001 Honda Rancher ES 4x4. ES electric shift. Got the old electric shifter right there. He's a little touchy too. What we did last year was put this big old box. Before it was just, you know, your standard rack. You can kind of see what that's made up of there, but I wanted a box that I could carry a lot of my gear, a lot of Kyle's gear, or whoever I'm going fishing with, but I really built this with tournament fishing in mind. It's just standard plywood box, pretty heavy, but it's really sturdy. It's got a door on top and a lot of space for storage. It's kind of dirty, storing some jumper cables, bungees, some spare hats are in there. My next step would be to section this off or make compartments or something like that. I thought that would be a good idea to start with, but I had better plans. I have one on this side and one on the other side, identical. That is our auger rack. So really we just set the auger on here, runs backwards or forwards, whichever direction you set it on. And then I had a bungee cord screwed in here. It would wrap around, hook to that loop. And then I have another loop here that would wrap around and hook back to that loop, holds it on there nice and secure. There is a kind of framed in rack. It is the perfect size for a 5-gallon bucket. Holds in there nice and sturdy. I can get 3 across the back, and typically we use that for, you know, holding our fish, getting a cull bucket, and you know, sorting our fish out. It makes it a lot easier with 3 buckets, at least we've found. And then it latches shut on both sides with latches like this, and she's sturdy and secure. I can lock it if I need to. Not that that's gonna do much with the screws showing, but who cares? But then you work your way to the front. The front, it's got this nice flat space. It's just the standard 4-wheeler rack on it. But then I thought, well, I'd like it to be flat so I can put, you know, my rods on there. I have a rod locker, a Strike Master rod locker that I toss on there and bungee her down. And we can both access our rods from either side of that. So it was nice, but it still got bulky, wasn't secure. You know, I don't really have tie downs. I have to strap it onto, you know, the stuff that's holding the rack on. So not the best. It got the job done, but the plan is to make this space into the ultimate flasher, rod, tackle, and just all around kind of tactical zone for the front of this 4-wheeler. Okay, so this is our space that we're gonna transform into just a tactical ice fishing station for 2 ice fishermen. The idea will be to have a box on either side that holds a flasher and probably some odds and ends like extra gloves, hats, whatever you can fit in there, but the main thing is for a flasher. That will have a door that folds down to be a workspace on the side. There will be one on this side, one on that side. That way we can kind of get our stuff in one place, have a space that's our own that we can work on. I'll have lights and stuff that we'll talk about later that will allow us to work early in the mornings or even doing some night fishing if we decide to do that. Obviously it's going to be tall enough to fit a Vexlar or a Markham or anybody's, flasher, fish finder, whatever. It's not going to fit like a Panoptix unit or whatever, but I have a different plan for that. I'm going to build it out of some aluminum, which I have right here. I've got this aluminum channel. It's really thin and lightweight, but it's really not going to save me a ton because I'm going to put plywood around it. There will be a flat space here, which I'm going to plan to build another box compartment with just a flip up cover on it. That would be for our tackle, the little jig boxes, like my little Kenders jig box here. We can put, one or two of those in here. We don't really need to overload with gear. That's something we're learning, just to kind of downsize, stay lightweight and mobile. One or two boxes, maybe some plastics and what have you, just odds and ends stuff again, but just a compact spot for us to keep our gear, be very handy and quick to access. I'm gonna put rod holders, kind of those PVC, just some DIY ones. I'm trying not to buy too much stuff. I have a lot of this stuff already. Like I said, DIY rod holders, screw them onto the front, 3 to 4. Really don't feel like moving around with too much more than that. Four rods per guy, that should be plenty. That'll allow us obviously to quickly access our rods that we want to use and throw them back on the wheeler when we're ready to move. I'll have some sort of bungee or strap system that's going to hold them in there, so when you're getting that rough terrain, it doesn't bounce out. The other piece that I want to touch on a little bit, I mentioned before, I got a Panoptix unit that we'll use for scouting, obviously, but it also has the Navionics maps on it, so that'll be really nice to have up here in front. There's a pretty good gap here that I set the whole kind of ice pack on, and it sits really good in there. I'm gonna have to think of a way to secure it, maybe just bungees again, but we'll see how that works out. But that way I can have my Garmin pointing right towards me with my map, but also be able to grab and go do some scouting, during pre-fishing and whatnot. That's what's gonna happen with the platform itself. The big piece that I'm very excited on this is to add some kind of an electric lithium box type thing. You've all seen the lithium power boxes. This is an ice hole power box, the bad mofo, except I didn't get the speaker on it. But so, you've got your USB charge ports, a 12-volt charge port, temperature gauge, voltage gauge, some pegs, a couple more switches for the glow cup, and then some LEDs. So I thought that's a really cool thing in a box, and I love using it to take trips and go up north and all that fun stuff to keep all my stuff charged. It lasts all weekend depending on what I'm using it for. I don't want to lug that around when I'm ice fishing, hole hopping, and especially during a tournament. So my thought was, these boxes are going to have space in them to allow me to run wires. I'm going to have that nice workspace for us with the fold down door. So I'm going to put some LED lights up in there. I want to try to think of a way that I can make them adjustable so you can point it in or out, but we'll talk about that more when we get to it. So lights in here on each side. They'll each have their own individual switch, so you can turn on your own light when you need it. Then I am going to have other LED lights kind of around the four-wheeler itself, just underneath. I kind of like that underglow look, plus it'll help light up the snow on those really kind of crappy weather days when you need to be able to see where you're going. Coming to the back to the box here, obviously there's a lot of space in here. There's a nice compartment in the middle. We can get a better look at that as we go, but I'm going to store the battery, the lithium battery. Yeah, that's kind of the meat and potatoes. I am going to start by getting some measurements of this space and then cutting some of those out for the bottom piece of this box, and then I'll give you a look at that once I get that pulled together.
there we go. We got the base done, just cut out. It's sitting in there. I'll have to square it all up and fasten it down. I think for the bottom piece, or for this frame here, I'm going to get some self-tapping screws and just tighten it down nice and sturdy to that plywood platform there. And then from there, we'll start to make some measurements and build up to get the whole box framed in. I don't know, I was thinking, you know, the lip might be kind of high, but it actually might be kind of nice, just for keeping stuff in, something to screw my hinge to. So I think that'll work out pretty good. So it's looking exactly how I was picturing it. So I think, unfortunately, that's gonna be it for today because it is kind of late and I got a lot of work to do on this thing. Plus, I think I'm gonna try and find a better saw. Hope you enjoyed that time lapse of me hand cutting all these pieces. So I'm gonna get a better saw for this, and we will pick this up sometime soon here, hopefully before too long, and we'll get moving towards something pretty cool on this four-wheeler. We're back. It's been about 2 days. I haven't gotten any progress made aside from the aluminum channels that we cut last time for the base of the boxes on our platform. The goal for today, it's a little bit earlier than last time. I still got some light outside, so I'm going to have a little bit more time. My plan is to get the boxes here done, at least framed up, and then I can start measuring for plywood and our next few steps. So I'm not going to talk too much more, probably won't talk a whole lot here. I just want to get this framed up, and if we get to that point, I will give you a little look at what we have. Hope you enjoy time lapse. So we got our frames on the wheeler now. So next step, I guess I should show you. I've got them fastened down here with some kind of sheet metal screws, self-tapping sheet metal screws. I put 9 of them in each one. It seems rigid now. We'll see. We can add more later once we get the frame on. So I just wanted to give you a look at that. Next, we're going to start measuring up and building the frame up here, and I'm gonna fasten that. I think right now my plan is to rivet everything. I got a riveter. It just seems a little easier, and when I put plywood on, it'll sit a little bit flatter, but we'll see how that works out. So we'll keep on trucking. We finished it. We got it all framed up. We got our boxes, and I don't mind the crookedness, but these things are done. They're ready to go. So, yeah, everything was riveted together. You can see I used 1/8 inch rivets. It went together a lot smoother on the second one. Obviously, I stopped using the saw. It took me way too long to cut with the saw. So I switched it up to a tin snips, worked really good, got clean cuts. So that second box, this one here is a little more rigid, a little more straight than the first one, but they're both pretty good. So what we're gonna do now is wrap it up for the night. I think this will end the first part of this ATV build out, and I'm gonna pick it up the next time on part 2 with running some wiring. We're gonna put wiring in the box before we put plywood on, because we want to be able to access all the inside parts of these boxes so we can get wires run, lights hooked up. We're gonna put a switch box, battery in the back. So that'll do it for part 1 of my Ice Fishing ATV build. I think it went pretty good so far, and Hope you guys enjoyed watching this. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. If you enjoyed this, toss a like, maybe subscribe, put the bell on, all that fun shit. And yeah, we'll be back in the next, I don't know, hopefully day or so, and we can get stuff going on the wiring. So until then, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the view, and we'll see you on part 2 of the Ice Fishing ATV build. Until then,